What if something that people consider magic internet money could restructure global power dominance? So, my name is Lojacono. I'm the founder and partner of Berglinde, a Bitcoin-focused asset management company. I have a background in finance and banking originally, studied abroad, started my first company in 11 years ago. It was active in Germany and in Switzerland. And it was the first time when I really realized there are quite some differences politically from Switzerland to Germany, to the European Union. After we sold the company in 2020, became CEO of a real estate platform and started Berglinde last year. In parallel, about 5 to 6 years ago, I started writing a blog about Bitcoin and its link to politics and macroeconomics. Because the more and more I got into Bitcoin, I started talking about with other people from other countries, and I felt there's a huge frustration amongst people with their government, with their institutions, etc. And I figured, why is that? What is the reason? And maybe Bitcoin could help solving that. Maybe. Who knows? So let's look into Bitcoin has many, many advantages for sure, but let's pick 4 USPs. It's heavily decentralized, so as we all know, everybody can participate. It's a grassroots movement. It is censorship resistant, so you can participate, you don't have to. Nobody can censor you. It's super transparent. So you see the whole ledger until back to 2009, and it's rock solid. It's monetary policy that is set in stone that nobody can change. And clearly the market shows that there is value in these USPs. There is something that people want from that. Now we see the actual state of the global economy, of the world in it as a whole. So we see a lot of problems everywhere. And I personally believe Bitcoin could solve a lot of those. Not only from a monetary perspective, but also from a philosophical perspective, from the values that Bitcoin brings. And I happen to be lucky enough or privileged to have grown up in Switzerland, where not everything is perfect, by far not, and we run into a few problems that everybody else has as well, but comparably, it's still a pretty good country, I would say. So what are the parallels? In Switzerland, we have something that is called direct democracy. So while in almost all other countries, especially surrounding us, especially in the European Union, you see a lot of centralizing power structures. In Switzerland, it's a bit different. The people are on top. People can they can start initiatives, they can start referendums, so all decisions that are being made by politicians can be challenged, can be changed. And I personally believe this is a strong parallel to how Bitcoin is set up. In Bitcoin, we have the network amongst nodes, and there's no central authority who can just come and say, yeah, I would like to do that, or I would like to do that, and this is how it is, and please accept it. It's not. You run your node, you run your rules. Then Switzerland is very, very decentralized. It's a weird place, maybe, from the outside. It's like 9 million people living there, the size of maybe a bit bigger than New York, but we have 4 languages, multitude of different, actually 3 big languages, but even that, the smaller one is still, people still speak it. We have more than 2,100 municipalities, 26 cantons, and I think this is one of the things that most people don't understand. We have 26 cantons that are competing with each other. So we have different tax systems, just 20 minutes outside of Zurich, for instance. Our biggest city, Zurich, has about 400,000 people living there, out of 9 million in total. So that's not a lot if you compare it to other countries, like Austria, for instance, has also about 9 million people living there, but about 2 million are in Vienna. So it's much more centralized. So what you can see here is that all these tiny little things are municipalities. And I think there is one of the key advantages as well of the country is that there is the thing called Subsidiaritätsprinzip. So to become a Swiss, for instance, Swiss citizen, you have to become a member of the small community of the municipality. So you have to start at the lowest end. If you are a member of a community, then you become a citizen of a canton, and only then you become a citizen of the country. So it's very, very decentralized, and there's a lot of value in that. Also, as I said, I mean, we have, so right now, taxes are going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I would prefer much less always, but that's how it is. But when you compare it as well to other countries, we have about 30, 40, 30. So 30% of the taxes are spent on the highest level, on the most centralized level, 40 on the cantonal and 30 on the municipality level. If you compare it to that to the UK, for instance, it's 90 on top and 10 on the bottom. That's a huge problem. And why am I saying this? I mean, as I said, Switzerland, not everything is perfect, by far not. And there are a lot of things that we need to take care of as well. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of value in decentralization. There's a lot of value in competing on the so-called smallest level, actually. Another point that especially a lot of Bitcoiners should be aware of, and that is unfortunately one of the advantages that Switzerland is in the process of losing, is a strong currency. So Switzerland was the country with the longest gold standard. So while the US left the gold standard in 1971, Switzerland left it when they joined the IWF. So a mistake, in my opinion, because we became a member of a much bigger centralized institution on top. And the gold standard then, I mean, it was diluted over time as well, but we only left it by the end of the 1990s. And so that comes with all the problems that we see under the fiat standard in all jurisdictions as well. So my personal fear in that sense is that we are on the same track there. So we are just about 20, 30 years behind the rest, and we will see the devastating effects of a weak currency at one point as well. So not everything works out perfectly, but I do think we have the cards at hand that we can still somehow solve it. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that there are a lot of parallels, and there is a lot of good advantages if people in different jurisdictions would go towards a more decentralized system. Because when you look at it, what does it actually turn out in actual numbers? So we have the GDP per capita, and then especially when you talk to Swiss people, it's a lot of them say, yeah, it's because we work harder, but that's actually bullshit. That's not true. Like you see, like I feel like when I talk to other jurisdictions, they work much harder than we do. But where you can see the effect of the strong currency is in the output per hour worked. So what I feel comfortable to say is that the system helped us to create a relatively efficient and effective economy, while others who continuously run on weak money will not gain the full advantage of nowadays technologies. And then, last but not least, it also shows in the Human Development Index. Human Development Index basically tells you it's a more or less, it's a blended index about the health of the population. It's about the education of the population, etc. Obviously, the first two metrics, they play into that, no question about it. But what I'm trying to say here is that the actual reason for that is in the decentralized structure of the country. And I do personally, and that's also why I started to raise my voice a bit more in that direction, is I'm personally afraid that we're losing that advantage as well. And I do think that, that when you look at Bitcoin and every advantage that it brings, there are a lot of parallels to the political world as well. And I try to hope, or I hope that we can make sure that this doesn't go as far. Because what we've seen, and in the Bitcoin community, we talk a lot about the devastating effects of the fiat standard. And in my opinion, this meme sums it up perfectly, because you see the devastation, you see all the natural resources, etc., and it's all caused by weak money. But this is only one thing. Philosophically, I think we can go much further. Now I see that they used the old picture, because I wanted to say that, okay, that there is clearly, Bitcoin has this advantage that it brings, that it starves the fiat world, the fiat power structures. And as you can see, maybe a diet is needed. So that's, but as I said, it goes much further. I really hope that people who get into Bitcoin, who understand the value of it, is that they can push for a more decentralized global power structure, less power with very few people, but more power to the people who actually create value in our society, which is the individual. So you maybe know this meme, the banking system trying to pop up the Bitcoin bubble, and it goes the other way around. I think it's much more. I really hope that Bitcoin can bring the power and the pervasiveness into global governance, and hopefully can be a strong force for the individuals amongst us, or for all of us, basically. Because in my opinion, Bitcoin isn't just money, it's much more a vote for a decentralized future. And I hope we can be a part of it. Thank you very much. I actually still have time for questions if you want. If there is any question or any remark, please feel free. Yes, please.
How quickly Switzerland now debasing the franc?
Pardon?
How quickly Switzerland now debasing the franc now they're off the gold standard?
Well, it's just today they lowered the interest rates to 0 again. So relatively quickly. I mean, it's still the reputation. We are still dragging from the reputation as a safe haven, I would say. So a lot of capital flows into the Swiss franc because they are afraid of the instability in other jurisdictions, and also because people still think, or especially institutional investors still think it's a hard money. And I think there's one thing that we can add on the positive side, as compared to many other countries and other currency areas. The Swiss National Bank doesn't actually finance politicians, which is good, but we just, for some reason, the SNB just becomes the world's largest hedge fund. So it's just invested. We are doing our job in popping up the everything bubble, I would say. So in a relatively fast, to your question, but it didn't trickle down yet on the economy. Nice.
How far is the EU a threat to Switzerland, especially politicians in Switzerland who want to apply for join the EU, and especially you with von der Leyen, which, you know, and Lagarde, which are not our friends actually. What dangers are there, especially from the government?
The first question was how far? Or?
Yeah, how far is Switzerland, or how close is Switzerland?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting point, because there you can clearly see that, and that's a discussion that I had with many people in the past, because they said, well, for some reason you probably have smarter politicians. And I was like, no, that's definitely not true. That's a completely wrong perception. So you can clearly see that people in political power positions, they strive towards more power. So, and that's also what we can see in Switzerland now. I mean, now we talk about this frame contract with the European Union, and there's a lot of push in that direction to basically take over regulation from the EU, and I think it would be a massive mistake. But there, the system really gives the population a chance to push back. And I really hope we will see, I'm positive, obviously, that we can stop it, but it will be a vote in about 2 to 3 years if we want to do that. And we will see. I hope we can set a clear statement, but let's see. Please.
So I have I live in Switzerland as well, and I have been seeing that there are some smaller banks that are actually gaining interest in Bitcoin. I was wondering what's the position of like major banks such as UBS, Credit Suisse with Bitcoin, if they're putting their attention on it or not?
Well, Credit Suisse doesn't have an opinion anymore, but
anymore.
But no, UBS. I think that we see some positive signs, but very slow. But in general, the banks are, especially as well, if you compare it to other jurisdictions, they are quite far. I mean, there are some of the most traditional banks, which are the cantonal banks, I would say. They are pretty far there. Like they have like about 4 or 5 have a Bitcoin offering, trading and custody, and there will be more services added over the next few months. So generally, in my opinion, it should be faster and we should be further, but all in all, it's pretty good. Anything else? So thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.